The silence of the void was shattered by the hum of the Starship Endeavour as it sliced through the cosmos. Jake McAllister, a seasoned Australian pilot, lounged in his chair on the bridge, eyes scanning the myriad of blinking instruments. His co-pilot, Ellie, leaned over her console, brow furrowed in concentration. Routine patrols are getting dull, Jake, Ellie sighed, tapping away at her controls. I'd kill for some excitement. Jake smirked, his rough-hewn features softened by the dim light of the control panels. Careful what you wish for, Ellie. The universe has a funny way of listening. The quiet banter was interrupted by a series of beeps. Ellie's eyes widened as she read the data. Jake, we're picking up a distress signal. It's coming from Zorax. Jake's smirk vanished. Zorax was an allied planet, integral to the human coalition. Patch it through. The message crackled to life. This is Commander Thala of Zorax. We are under attack by the Exilax. Our defenses are failing. Request immediate assistance. Ellie's fingers danced across the console, amplifying the signal. Jake, the Exilax are no joke. Their tech is leagues ahead of most. Jake's mind raced. The Exilax were notorious for their ruthless efficiency and advanced weaponry. Captain Aria needs to hear this. Minutes later, Captain Aria strode onto the bridge, her presence commanding respect. Her silver hair framed a face etched with lines of experience and authority. Report, she ordered. Jake played the distress call. Aria's expression hardened. The Exilax attacking Zorax means they're pushing closer to our territories. We can't ignore this. Ellie voiced the crew's concern. Captain, rushing into Exalax war zone could be suicide. Aria's eyes met Jake's, a silent exchange of mutual understanding. Jake, thoughts? He hesitated. Zorax is a key ally. Losing it would be a blow, but if we're not careful, we could lose more than just the planet. Aria nodded. We have a duty to our allies. Prepare the ship for battle, but proceed with caution. We'll need every bit of strategy and skill to pull this off. The decision made, the bridge buzzed with renewed urgency. Jake and Ellie ran through pre-battle checks, the atmosphere thick with tension. As the Endeavour approached Zorax, the reality of the situation became starkly clear. The planet was ablaze, its cities reduced to smoking ruins. Zalek's ships darted through the sky, their sleek forms bristling with lethal intent. Entering hostile territory in 3, 2, 1, Ellie announced, her voice steady despite the chaos outside. The ship lurched as it emerged from warp space directly into a chaotic battlefield. Shields up, weapons hot. Jake barked, gripping the controls tightly. Captain Aria's voice cut through the din. Target the Exilax command ship. If we can take it down, we might break their formation. The Endeavour dove and weaved through the onslaught, its cannons blazing. Jake's hands moved with practiced precision, each maneuver a testament to his skill. Ellie's eyes flicked across her screens, tracking enemy movements and relaying vital information. Jake, 3 bogeys at our 6. Ellie shouted. Jake rolled the ship, narrowly avoiding a barrage of plasma fire. Hang on. A sudden explosion rocked the Endeavour. Port thruster hit. Ellie yelled, compensating for the damage. We can't take much more of this, Jake gritted his teeth. Ellie, reroute power from non-essential systems to shields. On it! The ship shuddered as it absorbed another hit. Aria's voice came through, calm and resolute. Jake, Ellie, we need to punch through to that command ship. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Roger that, Jake replied, determination stealing his resolve. The Endeavour surged forward, its cannons firing in a relentless barrage. Explosions lit up the void as Exilax fighters disintegrated under the onslaught. We're through, Ellie exclaimed, eyes wide with triumph. The Exilax command ship loomed ahead, a menacing behemoth bristling with weapons. Jake guided the Endeavour into position, every muscle tense with anticipation. Fire at will, Aria commanded. The Endeavour unleashed a torrent of firepower, targeting the command ship's critical points. The Exalax vessel responded with a ferocity that shook the human ship to its core. Shields at critical, Ellie warned. Jake's eyes narrowed, focusing on a weak point in the enemy's hull. One more pass, Ellie. We can do this. With a final surge of energy, the Endeavour launched its last barrage. The XLX command ship shuddered, its defenses crumbling under the assault. A massive explosion erupted, signaling the ship's destruction. Cheers erupted on the bridge. Jake allowed himself a moment of relief, the adrenaline still coursing through his veins. "Good work, everyone," he said, his voice rough with exhaustion. Arya's voice carried a note of warning. "This is just the beginning. Prepare for the next wave." The Endeavour drifted above the scorched surface of Zorax, the once vibrant planet now a charred battlefield. Jake McAllister stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the devastation below. "This is worse than we thought," he muttered, his voice tinged with sorrow. Captain Arya nodded solemnly. "The XLX have decimated their defenses. We need to act quickly." Ellie, her hands deftly navigating her console, brought up a map of the planet. The Resistance base is located in the northern hemisphere. It's heavily fortified, but they won't hold out much longer. "Prepare for descent," Arya ordered. "Jake, you're leading the ground team. We need to make contact with the Resistance and form a plan." Jake nodded, a mix of determination and anxiety settling in his chest. "Understood, Captain." As the Endeavour descended into the planet's atmosphere, the ship shook with turbulence. The heat of re-entry glowed against the hull, casting an eerie light across the bridge. The crew worked in unison, their movements precise and synchronized. Touching down amidst the ruins, Jake and his team disembarked. The air was thick with smoke and the scent of burning metal. Alien architecture lay in ruins, a stark reminder of the XLAC's ruthless efficiency. Jake's team, consisting of Ellie, two seasoned soldiers named Briggs and Tanner, and a medic named Lyra, moved swiftly through the rubble. The Resistance base loomed ahead, a fortress of steel and determination amidst the chaos. They approached cautiously, weapons at the ready. The gates opened, revealing a group of wary but resolute Resistance fighters. Their leader, a tall alien with azure skin and piercing green eyes, stepped forward. "I am Zora, commander of the Zorax Resistance. You must be the humans who answered our call." Jake nodded. "I'm Jake McAllister. We're here to help." Zora's eyes softened slightly. "Thank you. We've been holding out, but the XLX are relentless. Their weapon, it's unlike anything we've faced." Ellie stepped forward. "We need to see it. If we can understand it, we might be able to disable it." Zora led them through a maze of tunnels, each turn revealing the scars of recent battles. The base hummed with activity as Resistance fighters prepared for the next assault. They reached a command center where a holographic display showed the XLX weapon, a massive energy cannon buried deep underground. "This is the core of their operation," Zora explained. "If they activate it, the planet's core will destabilize, leading to a catastrophic chain reaction." Jake studied the hologram, his mind racing. "We need to get in there and plant explosives on its critical points." Tanner, the demolition expert, nodded. "I can set charges, but getting in and out will be tricky. The place is crawling with XLX troops." Briggs, ever the optimist, grinned. Just another day at the office. The team gathered their gear, steeling themselves for the mission ahead. As they moved out, Zora placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. "Be careful. The XLX won't hesitate to kill any intruders." Jake met her gaze, a silent promise passing between them. "We'll get it done." The tunnels grew narrower and darker as they approached the XLX facility. The tension was palpable, each step a reminder of the stakes. The team moved in practiced silence, their training evident in their coordinated movements. As they neared the entrance, they encountered their first patrol. Jake signaled for silence, and the team waited in the shadows. The patrol passed, oblivious to their presence. Jake gave the signal, and they advanced. Inside, the facility was a labyrinth of steel and alien technology. The hum of machinery filled the air, and the team navigated through narrow corridors, avoiding detection. They reached the central chamber, where the energy cannon loomed, a testament to Exalac's ingenuity and malice. Tanner set to work, planting explosives at strategic points. Ellie monitored the entrance, her keen eyes scanning for any sign of movement. Lyra kept a watchful eye on their surroundings, ready to provide aid if needed. Briggs suddenly stiffened, his gaze fixed on a dark corner. "We've got company," he whispered. Zalek's soldiers emerged from the shadows, weapons raised. The team sprang into action, a flurry of movement and fire. Jake's pulse quickened as he fired at the advancing troops, each shot precise and deadly. The firefight was intense, the confined space amplifying the noise and chaos. Jake's team fought with skill and determination, but the Xalax numbers were overwhelming. As they held their ground, the explosives timer ticked down. Charges set. Tanner shouted, "We need to move, now." They fought their way back through the corridors, the facility shaking as the explosives detonated. The ground trembled, and the air filled with dust and debris. Jake led his team out, adrenaline surging through his veins. Outside, the resistance fighters watched as the ground erupted, the energy cannon's destruction sending shockwaves through the area. A cheer went up, but Jake knew their work wasn't finished. Zora approached, her expression one of cautious hope. "You did it." Jake nodded, his face grim. "We've bought some time, but the Xalax won't give up that easily. We need to prepare for their counterattack." The tension eased slightly, but the weight of the mission still hung over them. They had struck a significant blow, but the battle was far from over. The atmosphere in the resistance base was electric, charged with the adrenaline of their recent victory and the looming threat of retaliation. Jake McAllister stood in the command center, his eyes fixed on the holographic map of the Xalax stronghold. Beside him, Ellie analyzed the tactical data, her mind already formulating the next steps. "We've crippled their weapon, but the Xalax won't back down," Jake said, his voice steady but edged with urgency. "We need to strike their command center while they're disoriented." Zora, the resistance leader, nodded. Her alien features were stern, reflecting the gravity of their situation. "Our scouts report increased activity at the enemy's main base. They're regrouping for a counterattack." Captain Aria, who had joined them for the briefing, crossed her arms. "Jake, your team will lead the assault. We need to hit them hard and fast before they can mobilize fully." Jake exchanged a glance with Ellie, who gave a determined nod. "We're ready, Captain." As they prepared to move out, Zora pulled Jake aside. "There's something you need to know. We've discovered a traitor in our ranks, someone who's been feeding information to the Xalax." Jake's eyes narrowed. "A trusted lieutenant. His name is Varuk. Be cautious. He's dangerous and likely knows our plans." Jake clenched his fists, the sense of betrayal sharp in his chest. "We'll handle it. Thanks for the heads up." As they approached the perimeter, Jake held up a hand, signaling the team to halt. "Ellie, scan for any hidden defenses." Ellie's fingers flew over her handheld scanner. "I'm picking up multiple energy signatures. They've fortified this place well." Briggs, ever the optimist, grinned. "Just makes the victory sweeter." Tanner, the demolition expert, chimed in. "I can set charges to create a diversion. It'll give us a window to infiltrate." Jake nodded. "Do it. We move on your mark." The team spread out, taking positions around the facility. Tanner worked quickly, placing explosives with practiced precision. The tension was palpable, each second stretching into eternity. "Ready," Tanner whispered through the comms. "Detonating in 3, 2, 1. The ground shook as the charges exploded, sending plumes of smoke and debris into the air. Jake led the charge, his weapon at the ready. They breached the perimeter, slipping through the chaos of the explosion. Inside, the facility was a hive of activity. Zalek's soldiers scrambled to respond to the attack, their movements chaotic and uncoordinated. Jake's team moved with lethal efficiency, taking down enemies with swift precision. They reached the central command chamber, where the heart of the Xalax operation pulsed with energy. The air was thick with tension, the hum of alien machinery filling their ears. Jake spotted Varuk, the traitor, standing beside the Xalax commander, a hulking figure encased in dark armor. Varuk's eyes widened as he saw Jake, a sneer twisting his lips. "You're too late, human. The Xalax will crush you." Jake raised his weapon, his voice cold. "Not if we stop you first." The battle erupted with ferocity, the confined space amplifying every sound. Jake and his team fought with relentless determination, their movements a blur of skill and strategy. Ellie's sharpshooting picked off key targets, while Briggs and Tanner held the flanks, cutting down waves of Xalix troops. Jake confronted Varrock, their eyes locking in a deadly dance. "Why, Varrock? Why betray your own people?" Varrock's sneer deepened. "The Xalix promised power, something you humans could never offer." "You're a fool," Jake spat, lunging forward. Their fight was brutal, a clash of strength and skill. Varrock's betrayal fueled Jake's fury, each strike driven by a mix of anger and resolve. In the chaos, Ellie called out, "Jake!" The commander's heading for the control panel. Jake broke away from Varrock, his focus shifting to the Xalix commander. The alien leader was inputting commands into the control panel, a series of lights flashing ominously. "We can't let him activate that," Jake shouted, pushing through the fray. He reached the commander, their confrontation a whirlwind of energy and force. The mini-climax unfolded with rapid intensity. Jake managed to disarm the commander, but not before the alien triggered a countdown sequence. The room filled with a deafening alarm, red lights flashing in a warning of impending doom. "We need to stop that countdown," Ellie screamed, rushing to the control panel. Jake and the team fought desperately to hold off the remaining Xalix soldiers, buying Ellie the time she needed. Her fingers flew over the alien controls, her mind racing to decipher the complex interface. "Come on, Ellie," Jake urged, the seconds ticking away. "You can do this." Ellie's face was a mask of concentration. Almost there. With a final keystroke, the countdown halted, the alarm silencing. The room fell into a tense quiet, the immediate threat averted. Jake turned to Varrock, who lay defeated on the ground. "It's over, Varrock." The traitor glared up at him, hatred burning in his eyes. "This is just the beginning." The air in the command center was charged with a mix of relief and tension. Jake McAllister stood over the captured Varrock, the traitor who had nearly cost them everything. The room was silent save for the hum of alien machinery and the distant echoes of battle. Captain Aria's voice crackled through the comms. "Jake, the Xalix forces are regrouping. We need to secure this base and prepare for their counterattack." Jake nodded, his gaze never leaving Varrock. "Understood, Captain. We'll hold the line." Ellie approached, her eyes scanning the room. "We've got control of the central systems, but the Xalix won't stay disorganized for long. We need to fortify our position." Briggs and Tanner moved swiftly, setting up defensive positions and checking their weapons. The team worked with a practiced efficiency, every movement precise and deliberate. Lyra, the medic, tended to the wounded, her hands moving with gentle expertise. Zora, the resistance leader, joined them, her expression resolute. "My fighters are ready. We'll stand with you." Jake appreciated her solidarity. "Good. We're gonna need everyone." The minutes stretched into tense anticipation as they waited for the inevitable assault. The walls of the command center seemed to pulse with the weight of impending conflict. Jake's mind raced through strategies, each scenario more desperate than the last. "Contact!" Ellie shouted, her eyes fixed on the scanners. Incoming Xalix forces, multiple vectors. The ground trembled as the first wave hit. Xalix soldiers stormed the perimeter, their weapons blazing. The resistance fighters held their ground, the air filled with the sounds of combat. Jake's team engaged the enemy with fierce determination. Every shot, every maneuver, was a testament to their training and resolve. Ellie's sharpshooting provided crucial cover, while Briggs and Tanner held the flanks, cutting down the advancing troops. Jake moved through the chaos, his focus razor-sharp. He engaged in close combat with a Xalix warrior, their blades clashing in a deadly dance. The alien's strength was formidable, but Jake's agility and precision gave him the upper hand. With a final, decisive strike, he felled the warrior. The battle raged on, the tide of enemy forces seemingly endless. Jake's muscles burned with exertion, but he pressed on, driven by a fierce determination to protect his team and their allies. As the fight intensified, a new threat emerged. A massive Xalix mech, bristling with weapons, lumbered into view. Its presence cast a shadow over the battlefield, a symbol of the overwhelming power they faced. "We need to take that thing down," Jake called out, his voice barely audible over the din. "Ellie, find a weak spot." Ellie's eyes narrowed as she studied the mech's movements. "The joints. Aim for the joints and power conduits." The team redirected their fire, targeting the mech's vulnerable points. Explosions sparked as rounds found their marks, but the mech continued its relentless advance. Tanner moved forward, carrying a high explosive charge. "I'll get close and plant this." "Cover me."